Diary entry number 24. Hello, welcome back to the Nervous System Diaries. Today's diary entry is called The Visit to My Mother's House. When I first arrived in my new state, I sent both an email and a handwritten letter to my mother. Neither one was answered. Life with number 2 was becoming harder and harder, and somewhere deep inside of me, I still hoped that maybe, just maybe, I could repair my relationship with my mom. One day I got into my vehicle and went for a drive. The next thing I knew, I was pulling in her driveway. Looking back, it almost felt like I was watching myself from above. I didn't feel connected to my own body. I just remember walking to the front door and knocking. My mother answered. She invited me inside. There was a hug. It didn't feel like the kind of hug you'd imagine after years spent apart. She told me to sit down and we started talking. I told her about escaping number 1. I told her how dark my life had become. I even admitted that I honestly didn't think I'd still be alive if it hadn't been for Puppy. She gave me a reason to keep going when I couldn't find one myself. I also told my mom about number 2, but I only shared the good parts. I never told her about the manipulation or the emotional abuse. I already knew how she would respond. I couldn't survive being ridiculed on top of everything else. So I talked about the positive things instead. I wanted my mom to be proud of me. Instead, she told me I deserved everything bad that had happened to me. She said I had been such a terrible child that I made her worry all the time. And this was the consequence. Those words shattered me. Because when it's your own mother saying them, you believe them. I even brought up my ex-husband that day. I told her how much he had helped me after everything I had been through. How I was grateful. How guilty I still felt. And she dismissed that too. And for some reason, I let her words plant seeds inside of me. I started thinking about my ex-husband again over the next following years, because I wondered what he was up to. But because my mother's opinion still carried weight that it never should have, I owed her nothing. Yet, I still wanted her approval. Then she noticed my tattoo, the one that covers my self-harm scars. I told her, I got this because it makes me happy. It reminds me that something painful can become something beautiful. She became angry. Her voice changed. It was a tone I recognized immediately from childhood. In an instant, I wasn't a grown woman anymore. I was that little girl again, frozen, terrified. And then I remembered something. I wasn't a child anymore. I could leave. So I stood up, walked to the front door, but when I tried to leave, she was standing in front of the door. The door was also locked. I struggled with it while telling her I was going home. She told me I'm sick. Months later, I found out that wasn't even true. Eventually, I managed to unlock the door and walk out. I got back to my vehicle, but I couldn't drive. I had to pull into the nearby gas station because I couldn't stop crying. My own mother had just told me that I deserved everything bad that had ever happened to me. I can still remember the look on her face. It took me almost 20 minutes before I could calm down enough to drive home. And when I got there, I told number 2 what had happened. He didn't care. Not even a little. If something didn't directly affect him, it simply didn't matter. And if I tried talking about it too much, he'd become irritated or angry. He didn't want to hear it, so I stopped talking. I fell into one of the deepest depressions of my life. For weeks, I barely spoke unless it was necessary for work. I just wanted everyone to leave me alone. Coming to terms with the fact that I would never have that kind of mother that I had longed for, the grief was overwhelming. Years later, during therapy, I finally learned the words I had been missing. My therapist helped me to understand that my mother also showed many narcissistic behaviors. Suddenly, so much of my life started making sense. People often ask why it was so hard for me to leave number two. That's part of the answer. The tiny crumbs of affection and approval that number two gave me were the same crumbs I had spent my entire childhood chasing from my mother. My brain already believed that love had to be earned, that if I tried harder, loved harder, stayed quieter, maybe this time I'd finally be enough. Childhood shapes us, especially when people who are supposed to protect us become the people who hurt us. I don't believe I ever truly got to finish being a child either. Before I had a chance to grow, I was surviving. For a long time, I believed life had simply been unkind to me, that people would always fail me. But today, sharing these stories, by putting my words to experiences I never understood back then, I'm doing something different. I'm ending a cycle. I'm breaking a generational pattern that I refuse to pass on. And maybe someone is listening today that will recognize pieces of their own story too. We'll stop here today. Until next time, I'm a soft-spoken survivor, and this is a Nervous System Diaries.